Hello everyone. Welcome to Thane City FC Talks, a special podcast on healthcare during monsoon for children and young athletes. Today we have Dr. Sandeep Kelkar with us, who is the director of Department of Pediatrics at MRR Children's Hospital, and we are shooting this here itself at MRR Children's Hospital. Dr. Sandeep Kelkar has 3 decades of experience in pediatrics. Alongside, he has been a young athlete himself, being the sports secretary of his college and the captain of the basketball and cricket teams. Am I right?
That's right.
And sir, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, it's great. It's actually very exciting to have this podcast and on this important topic of health during monsoon season, especially for sportsmen, because I have been a sportsman myself. And you require a lot of things about awareness and how you manage your mind and body during monsoon season. So it's very important and valuable actually.
So let's dive right into it. Going ahead with the first question, doctor. What are some common health issues that young athletes and football players might face during monsoon season itself?
After the scorching sunny summer, we normally welcome monsoon. you know. But with monsoon comes a lot of other things also, and not only for sportsmen but generally for all children and adolescents, the health issues increase. There are sicknesses. So mainly there are 4 or 5 kinds of things which increase, especially for sportsmen and in football play. First is about infections, because of there are more viral infections which are occurring, like viral, there is contamination of water, so viral gastroenteritis is very common during this monsoon season. Then there are respiratory illnesses which happen related to allergy and asthma. There, those who are prone for allergic conditions can have respiratory breathing problems and asthma, which is aggravated. Then in infections, because of breeding of mosquito, there are illnesses like infections like dengue fever, malaria, chikungunya, which are seen commonly. Because in football play, you have to play in a wet surface, so infections like leptospira are also common, which are very lethal also. Then there are other skin conditions which are common because of humidity and dampness in the environment. And of course, there are illnesses related to injuries. Injuries are which are common in, especially in football contact sport, where you can have falls and slippery ground,
Yes.
and then you can have sprains, strains, and fractures and all those things. So injuries are very common. And another very important thing is there can be affection of mental health during sports, during
Yes.
monsoon period, because you are away from the you are more isolated, socialization is less, and of course we promote going to play in the on the ground even in monsoon season, so that they have contact with social contact with other peer group, as well as they play in rains. Actually, that's very good for them, it's not bad for them. But then you can have interrupted training sessions, sometimes lack of motivation, the weather is very gloomy and humid, so that has impact on our mental health. So all those things can also get affected during monsoon season. So I think these are all physical, mental, all those things can get, because basically as a health we can see it's four dimensional. So we have to see physical well-being also, mental well-being also, social well-being. All those can get affected in monsoon season.
And like the joy of playing football in rains, is amazing. I think so. We all have experienced that, playing on a muddy ground in like rain, an amazing experience, unlike anything else. Just want to get into just like how does this monsoon season specifically contribute in these health problems for young athletes?
Yeah, especially in monsoon season, there are some changes happening in the environment. First is there is rise in humidity, and dampness. That can, that is a very good medium for breeding of bacteria, parasites, and so skin lesions, skin conditions like fungal infections are more during monsoon season. Then there is stagnation of water many a time. The children are playing in the water and there is stagnated water and mosquito breeding is there. So mosquito bites, and then mosquito bite related illnesses like I said dengue, malaria, those are very common because of that. Then there is, because of slippery ground, of course, injuries are more during this monsoon season. And there is otherwise, change in temperature, the food sometimes, the water and the food is contaminated if they're eating outside, and taking water from outside may be contaminated, so
Hmm.
that can pose a problem to health, because of infections are very common because of contamination. So these are, few of things which are particularly essentially, are specifically related to monsoon season.
Hmm.
And of course, because of humidity, change of temperature, and generally, that dampness which is there, they are prone for certain respiratory illnesses also, because they are, the immunity, local immunity goes down, so they are prone for allergic problems, as well as local infections of chest, and bronchitis and asthma, all those can get also aggravated.
Fair, 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 fair. And is there anything a particular age group that needs to take more care or precaution, or are more vulnerable, during monsoons?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially younger age group,
Hmm.
below 10 years, they have to take care, because their awareness is less about, personal hygiene, and when they are playing in the rains, and actually playing in, outdoor activity, they can come in contact with water which is contaminated, and then there are, less of personal hygiene which is there many a times in younger kids. Their immunity level is, as compared to, older kids, it's lesser, so they are more prone for that, even that, because of that. And then in children, um, when they are playing, many times it happens that, the injuries are also little more in them, because they don't have control over their body as
Hmm.
much as, older kids have.
Yeah.
So the falls are more in cases of children, but that doesn't mean that they should not play.
Yeah.
And then I think parents should encourage children below 10 years, especially below 10 years, to play in rain, especially the contact sports like football, because that's essential for their mental as well as physical well-being.
So just wanted to, just on the immunity aspect. So any tips or anything that parents can do so that their children have a better level of immunity during the monsoon season itself?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, the nutrition in the diet is very important during monsoon season, because if the child is taking good amount of vegetable, fruits, which contain a lot of antioxidants and minerals, and the nutrients which are required, that will improve the immunity levels in a child. Of course, apart from, nutrition, they have to take care of their hygiene also. So we have to train them in how to keep that personal hygiene. Hand washing is so much important, and how to, wash hands, and especially after the training session, before the training session, after and before going to restroom, where you're changing the clothes, how you can sorry, do that, and actually take care of your personal hygiene by hand washing with soap and water, which is so much important to prevent this. So all these things can be actually told to them, especially younger kids, which will help in, preventing these problems.
So yeah, this is about getting those basics right out there.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
nutrition and good habits.
Absolutely. And apart from that, probably we have to see at other parts of the life also, like sleep,
Hmm.
how much rest they are taking. It's a good quality sleep, because of now the screen time is increasing. So
Yes.
many times the, sleep time is now getting compromised at night,
Hmm.
especially. So good quality screen sleep time is essential. Then they should be, doing certain exercises to reflect, and do some meditation and mindfulness also, which will help them to focus their attention. It's good for their mental health also, and regulating their intense emotions when they are playing, actually playing in the sports. So all these things can be focused, so that, they can have, as a kind of preventive aspects in, especially in monsoon season.
Thank you for that guidance, sir. How important, like we were talking about diet and nutrition, like how important is that especially during monsoon itself right now?
Yeah, the, the food, as well as, the hydration
Hmm.
is so much important, because many times in monsoon season the thirst is not so much there,
Yeah,
because of,
the
humidity and all
humidity
that.
and everything.
So
Yeah.
children many times drink less of fluids.
Hmm.
So it's very essential that they keep themselves hydrated in spite of no thirst. They have to keep on drinking water, liquids more, even coconut water and all those things which are really rich in electrolytes, they can be taken, So that hydration is important, and of course food, special precautions have to be taken, that they should be boiled, properly cooked, semi-cooked or outside food should be avoided. The food which is there outside, open foods, items and junk food, of course, we don't advocate that definitely. But healthy food, which is cooked properly, should be taken. So there is less of contamination, less of chances of illnesses and sicknesses because of infections.
And any specific foods that you need to avoid during monsoon, or should add into your diet, so that you can balance that nutrition.
Yeah, the food should be, rich in minerals, vitamins, vitamin C, especially zinc, because that will improve the immunity levels. And fruits and vegetables and legumes and, even plant-based proteins, as well as, eggs, all there are very rich in all these minerals and vitamins. So they should be taken more during a monsoon season by all children, especially those who are playing sports, because they require more of energy, they require more of immunity to fight off, because they are playing outside in the open. And it's for overall well-being also, this healthy diet is essential. And what not to take, what not to eat is, those, of course, junk food, which has got a lot of other chemicals, artificial
Yes.
flavors, all that should be avoided forever actually in children. Once in a while is fine, but then that should be avoided. Aerated drinks,
Yes.
those cold drinks and Coke and all those should be totally avoided. It's high sugar, and it's not good for the health, because that sugar ultimately is going to have impact as they grow up to teenager. They can have many lifestyle diseases which we call as non-communicable diseases
Yes.
as they grow up. So all these things should be avoided in children, especially in monsoon, so that they can keep their overall well-being and physical well-being at a optimal level.
So yeah, so jumping into the symptoms right now, what are the early symptoms of common illnesses that young athletes and their parents should be aware of?
When we are talking about infections, especially in monsoon season, the most common infections are, as I said, gastroenteritis, malaria, dengue. So any signs where there are, fever, which is very high grade, with lot of body ache, headache, at that time the parents have to be very careful. If the fever is there for more than 2 to 3 days and it's increasing in trend, then immediately showing the doctor, pediatrician is essential. And of course, the signs of gastroenteritis, like loose motions, vomiting. If the child is showing certain red flags, are very important. Those who where immediate attention of a pediatrician is necessary. Where the child is lethargic, not active when there is no fever, because generally in fever they are less active. But then when the fever goes down, the child should be active. So if the child is not playful and not active during interfebrile period, that is a sign where immediate attention is necessary. If the child is showing difficulty in breathing, vomiting continuously, loose motions are also very large and persistent. There is not child is not taking orally anything. So at that time, we require immediate attention in the hospital actually, and the pediatrician has to be contacted. And when there is fever which is not responding to medicines, and there is change in sensorium of the, those are all real red flags where immediate attention is necessary. So all these, I think, are signs where immediate attention is necessary. But then early, if we pick up those signs, when there is fever, when there is cough, and show the doctor, instead of giving home remedies, then it is better that somebody, some expert sees the child, is so much important. And when we talk about all these illnesses, I think prevention is most important. So I think vaccination, immunizing the kids for all these monsoon related illnesses is very important. So especially we advocate certain vaccines like flu vaccines, which are flu, and all these viral infections are very common. So flu vaccine, some vaccines which are related to other illnesses which are common in monsoon should be taken. If they are not taken in the earlier period of the life, they need to be taken to prevent, means when they are prone for injuries. I think tetanus vaccine, if they are not taken, then that is, we advocate
Yeah.
TT, TT and DTaP is nowadays available, which has to be given if they are not primarily immunized in the earlier childhood. So all these vaccination also will prevent problems. So these are really basic things which we need to do.
Okay. And so some going into like the first aid and home remedies itself. So what first aid measures and home remedies can be used to provide initial relief from these ailments, like cold, flu, stomach infections?
Yeah, for cold and flu, I think if it is not having, the child is not having very high grade fever, if it is just, sneezing or running nose, it doesn't actually require immediate medications, to take care of it. But then certain anti-allergic medicines can be taken with the doctor's advice, of course. And there are things which they can do at home is first is, gargles. Saltwater gargles or betadine gargles are very effective when you're talking about initial throat infection
Yeah.
or if it's cold is there. And so if they do gargles regularly twice a day, most of the germs they get killed in this region only, so they don't have infections and then later on problem. So that is very important. And of course, in the first aid, when there is injury, of course you clean the wound immediately if there is some injury with soap and water, keep it dry and clean, and of course, apply some antiseptic immediately at home. So that's very important. If there is swelling, increasing pain, then we have to immediately show the doctor because there can be underlying some fracture or sprain which require immediate attention. So when there are injuries, these prevention and immediate first aid have to be taken. You can do for smaller swellings and little trauma which is minor, we can use ice packs immediately so that the pain gets reduced locally, and then give some analgesic, especially paracetamol is very safe to give, but try to avoid aspirin and those drugs
The
which can cause complications. So these are the basic, I think, first aid we need to do. Steam inhalation is also very good when there is a cold, and especially if you're putting a little bit of eucalyptus oil in that with steam, and that also helps. Avoiding, sleeping below AC blow or fan. That's also many times in children that can aggravate because it dries up all the secretions, nasal secretion. That can aggravate cough and all other problems like bronchitis. So these basic things I think we can do at home.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about, when we should seek professional help and get come to a pediatric. Any specific other circumstances where, pediatric attention will be needed that
Yeah, as
the
I
parents
said,
should look
there
for?
are certain red flags where immediate pediatrician and hospital, they should be reaching the hospital emergency department immediately. One is when there is change in sensorium like lethargy, the child is not very active. There is some behavioral change. Child is very irritable and lethargic and not responding to commands and all those things. So that's all about sensorium. Secondly, if there is increased breathing rate, breathlessness is there, or this cough which is incessant, just not stopping. This vomiting which is persistent, and the child is dehydrated because of that. The child is not taking orally anything. If the child is without food and water for a long time, if there is urine output, a very important sign where the urine quantity, the output of urination is less in children as compared to the normal, then also immediate attention and coming to the emergency department is essential. So I think these are the, and of course rising fever which is not responding to medicines, which is more than 2 to 3 days of fever, because generally viral fevers generally come down in 3 to 4 days. But anything which is more than that, fever will continue after 3 to 4 days. So immediate attention in that case is really necessary.
And just about talking about physical activity, how can young athletes stay active and maintain their training during monsoon? And like when outdoor activities might be limited, like if there is excessive rains and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Monsoon is a season where sometimes we have to, there are excessive rains, then we have to curtail outdoor activities for some time. So in that time, there are two things which we have to monitor and take care of. One is of course physical well-being and also mental well-being. So physically, the child can do indoor workouts also at that time. There can be they can be prescribed, he or she can be prescribed about certain things which can they can do at home. Of course, the stretching exercises, muscle building, and endurance exercises can be done in the, as a workout during indoor sessions. Uh, Things like meditation, yoga, pranayam, and all those breathing exercises can be done. Uh, there can be visualization exercises. They can actually watch certain good a sporting event or football play or some match or previously recorded match of they playing, so that they can do that mental exercise actually staying at home. There can be virtual connection. We can have on virtually we can have training through coaching on Zoom or any platform where they can be trained on other skills also apart from doing the technical skill building. So all these things can be done in monsoon. Of course, there is a there is a lot of issues with motivation. When they are away from sports for a long time, there are issues with socialization because there is loneliness. They are not connected with peers when they are at home. So that can be improved by connecting, helping them to connect with other peers. I generally tell about this healthy mind platter, which is a very important time zones which normally we all should have in 24 hours. So there are 7 time zones which are important, which we call as healthy mind platter to keep your physical and mental well-being. First is the sleep time. They have to be very essentially looking into how is the quality of sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep time is essential.
Yes.
Secondly, about the physical activity they are doing at home. So you can have aerobic exercises, something where body moves. Maybe dancing also is a good exercises where the body is moving. So that is a physical time. And third is focus time, when they are doing certain activity which is focused and they are in the moment, uh, fully attending to that moment, in that moment, here and now. So we call it as focus time. Then time in, that's the fourth time zone, where they are reflecting, they are going inside their mind and just understanding how they are feeling, how they are thinking. Are those thoughts very pleasant, unpleasant? Are they realistic, very negative? Because many times, because it's gloomy weather, it's had impact on the mind, and they can have a lot of thoughts which are going on the negative side. So if they're aware about their thoughts, they can change the thought train. They can embark on more positive and realistic thoughts. So the time in is important. They should give some time for meditation and mindfulness. Then the fifth time zone is about time downtime, where they are doing goalless activity. They are just listening to music, maybe just relaxing. It's a goalless, total goalless activity. So that's downtime. Then the sixth time zone is about hobby time or creativity. We call it playtime, where they can pursue certain hobby which is different than what they are doing, and spend some time. And last but not the least, connecting time, where they're connecting to somebody who is meaningful in their life. So if we see this platter with 7 time zones, we can divide and have a balance in those 7 time zones. Sometimes it happens that there is too much of one time zone, too less of one time zone. So if the child can have a balance between these 7 time zones, then they can improve their mental as well as physical well-being, staying at home away from outdoor sports activity in monsoon especially.
Yeah. So very well said, doctor. So we talked a lot about parents taking care during monsoon, children taking care of themselves during monsoon. Now coming to the coaches, what should the coaches do before the session, during the session, and after a session to make sure that child's health and well-being is at the best during monsoons, especially during, let's say, a rainy session or something.
Yeah, absolutely. When they are at at the outdoor sports like football, of course, before the actual session starts, we I always advocate warming up before it starts, because there is muscles are not so active at that time. So warming up, and after that, there are certain precautions we need to take to prevent all those injuries as well as illnesses. Is first of all, the whatever gears the shoe footwears they are using, they should be properly fitting. There should be because there is slippery ground, so they have to be very mindful about when they are running, and they have to be really focused in what they are doing, because that helps in preventing injuries many times. And uh, uh, and of course, post session, because there is a lot of sweating, and many times they get wet because of rains. Um, the cloth changing is essential immediately after the session. Of course, hand washing has to be there, personal hygiene, which they should not share anything, with others, their personal gadgets or anything, especially during monsoon season. And when they go back, after going off shower, taking shower, frequently, maybe after the session is over, is very essential for their personal hygiene and to prevent illnesses. And of course, they should be keeping the clothes wet anytime. They should be not be soaked. They should be dry and clean, so that it can prevent fungal infections and skin related issues in them, especially in monsoon season.
Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Kelkar, for your wisdom and your guidance for parents, coaches, as well as young athletes. And thank you to MRR Children's Hospital who helped us host this podcast. This was our first edition of our special podcast, Thane City FC Talks, at MRR Children's Hospital, and this was specially about monsoon, health in monsoon. And if you like this podcast, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you need any other episodes about well-being of children, young athletes, do let us know, and we'll come back with a new one soon.